I'm here before you to present my doctoral dissertation entitled Fluctuating Identity in Hybrid Novels. The reading of the Soutenance, New People, and Kanuja they say it is got confused, and Kanuja they say it is advice how they are allow me to say a few words over people who helped me, who supported me till now. I would like to mention my father, my mother present here in this room, who provided me with all the support that I needed. My relatives and friends for their unconditional support. Mr. Chairman, I would like also to thank Professor Kpade Codjo, Professor Kpade Professor Kodjo for sparking of the eagerness to conduct this doctoral dissertation. I would like also to thank the Associate Professor for his advice and guidance. I would like also to thank Associate Professors and Iboni Agbo for their advice. And finally, I would like to thank Christina Mary Darling for her, from the American University of Rome and the Fulbright specialist, for her unconditional support and her insightful observation that she made on what I provided. Mr. Chairman, distinguished member of the Board of Examiners, now I'm going to proceed with the presentation itself. This is the outline of my presentation is as follows. I will start with the general definition of identity, followed by the contextual definition, and I will talk about some of the working definitions that I used in this dissertation. And later on, I will talk about the context that started or that jump-started my dissertation, my research. Later on, I will talk about the thesis statements, which will be followed by the theory used with its relevance. And I will present the structure of the work with the findings. And the last but not least, a brief summary in French for those who cannot understand English here. And I will conclude my presentation. Mr. Chairman, members of the Board of Examiners, I can say that identity actually is a set of features that an individual or a thing is made up of, and those peculiarities distinguish them from others. And when I come to, in the context of this dissertation, the identity of an individual, in this one, it is related to human being. And I can say that the identity of an individual is ascribed to a person when one is capable of delineating oneself from others based on social, cultural, ethnic, racial, professional, and national characteristics, to mention very few. And I will move to the hyphenatedness. Hyphenatedness, as a working definition in this context, refers to an individual which is made up of a mix of diverse racial background or composition. It also refers to an individual who is considered to have more than one nationality or ethnic background, such as French Canadian, Afro-American, Afro-Argentine, and Asia-American, etc. I mentioned in the title hybrid novels. Hybrid novels means what? It simply means that all the authors used here in my study are from dual background, which means that they are all hyphenated authors. Some are biracial and bicultural, others are bicultural and binational, and the third one is binational. In the context of, the context that I've considered here is that after reading some scholars on identity-related issues epitomized by different characters in some works, whether in literature or in other domains, I've noticed that less coverage has been given to the identity of hyphenated individuals. Consequently, there's still room for research concerning an individual of dual, treble, or multiple background. So the thesis statement of this dissertation, my intention here actually is to explore the struggle of a hyphenated individual to be fully accepted in American society as full human beings like the other members of the community. So my purpose is now to analyze and interpret the challenges and hardships that individuals or hyphenated individuals meet with in the process of asserting their identity so as to be fully accepted in American society. And I've used critical race theory to analyze my data collected. And critical race theory has traditional trend, but I have not used the traditional trend. I've rather used the new orientation of the theory. And the new orientation of the theory has pioneers. And the pioneers are Richard Delgado and Jean Stefanski. So this theory has different tenets. And this theory is relevant to my topic to the extent that it provides a way to interpret and explain identity-related issues in a given society. So my structure actually is this way, is as follows. The first chapter is about identity representation of an individual, along with the elements that can be considered in defining an individual with equally, including the hyphenated individuals in the spectrum. And the case of the hyphenated individuals have been, tackled or talked about. And the third chapter is about the importance of identity and the reasons that underlie this identity. And the fourth chapter has to do with the profiling of the American identity. What are the elements that can be considered in qualifying someone as an American? And the last chapter has to do with the discourse of hyphenatedness. Mr. Chairman, members of the Board of Examiners, after all the analysis made, I've come out with some results. And the first result is that identity is what one decides to be and to be embodied in society. And I've grounded on the first principle of the critical race theory, which stipulates that an individual uses interest convergence to gain advantages. And the second result is that the fluctuation of the identity for hyphenated individuals is unavoidable in society, where different races and cultures coexist and coalesce. The third result is about the fact that bearing an identity is essential for an individual for his or her integration and acceptance in society. The fourth result is that the main characters, in Caucasia it is Berry, in Born Confused it is Dipo Lala, in New People it is Maria and Khalil, and in How the Garcia Girls Lost Their Assets, we have the main character who is Yolanda with her junior and senior sisters. They took up many challenges because they are athletes, and they have successfully made it by adopting the different values and patterns of the US society. And the fifth result is that the issue of hyphenatedness has become more challenging in the sense that the self-definition and self-identification of athletes have given rise to an array of interpretations as well as a kind of reluctancy pertaining to their full citizenship as all Americans within the mainstream American culture. Mr. Chairman, members of the Board of Examiners, allow me to go in French to summarize a little bit what I've just said so far in English. Monsieur le Président du jury, distingués membres du jury, chers invités, permettez-moi de résumer en français ce que j'ai présenté en anglais. Cette recherche a porté sur le sujet intitulé Fluctuating Identity in Hybrid Novels, a reading of the Indigenous Caucasia and New People, Tanuja DC, Born Confused, and Julia Alvarez, How the Garcia Girls Lost Their Assets. Dans cette recherche, nous avons parlé de la question de l'identité d'un être humain en se focalisant beaucoup plus sur l'identité des métis et des binationaux dans la société américaine. Nous avons traité le sujet en disant que l'identité est un concept inextricable, c'est-à-dire complexe. Néanmoins, certains critères essentiels nous permettent de la définir. Ainsi, l'identité d'un être humain renferme des caractéristiques qui lui permettent de le distinguer des autres êtres humains. Il faut aussi noter que chaque personne a une identité qui lui permet d'appartenir à la société et de s'y identifier. Cependant, les problèmes en ce qui concerne l'affirmation de leur identité et leur acceptation dans la société dans laquelle ils y vivent. Par contre, celles qui ont une double, triple ou multiple origine font souvent face à des vicissitudes et difficultés dans la définition de leurs identités respectives. Le travail a été subdivisé en 5 parties. La première partie a traité de la définition de l'identité d'un individu en se basant sur les caractéristiques internes et externes de la personne. La deuxième partie a parlé de la construction de l'identité d'un individu. Et la troisième partie a abordé l'importance de l'identité pour un être humain. La quatrième partie s'est penchée sur l'identité américaine et la quatrième partie a abordé la question du métissage aux États-Unis. L'analyse de notre sujet nous a permis d'aboutir à 5 résultats. Et nous avons comme résultat que la fluctuation de l'identité d'un individu à la double origine avec la couleur de peau métissée est inévitable au sein de la communauté américaine où différentes races et cultures coexistent et cohabitent. Et on peut dire que toute personne a une seule identité, mais elle est constituée de plusieurs appartenances dans la société, ainsi que les binationaux, les biculturels et les personnes à la double identité raciale. Ceci est inévitable dans la mesure où les groupes d'appartenance de l'individu ne sont pas les mêmes d'un endroit à un autre. Et l'affirmation de l'identité est donc faite pour correspondre à l'appartenance convenable du moment. Le sentiment d'appartenance est donc primordial pour déterminer le groupe auquel appartient la personne. Ensuite, les personnages principaux des œuvres ont relevé beaucoup de défis en raison de leur double origine raciale et ou culturelle ou binationale. Ils y sont arrivés avec succès en adoptant les différentes valeurs et habitudes sociales de ces groupes d'appartenance, ce qui leur a permis d'être acceptés et intégrés en qualité de membres à part entière de chaque groupe auquel ils appartiennent. L'étude nous a également trouvé qu'il est essentiel pour un métis de résider là où il se sent à l'aise, sans tenir compte de son héritage racial pour une existence paisible, vu que la société américaine est de plus en plus multiraciale et multiculturelle. En guise de conclusion, j'ai dit que le métissage est l'une des questions brûlantes à l'heure des défis et sujets contemporains. Il est à l'appel de nos jours, comme on peut observer aujourd'hui beaucoup de métis à la double, triple ou multiples identités. Mr. Chairman, I'll come back to English. By way of conclusion, I would say that hyphenated identity is a bridge, not a border. And it enables the individual to move easily and freely from one place to the other. Mr. Chairman, members of the Board of Examiners, this is an overview of my dissertation, and I'm aware that it might have some shortcomings. I'm therefore open to your observations and suggestions that will allow me to revamp its quality, because I'm here to learn from you in order to follow your step. It is to become a giant as you are. So your observations and suggestions are welcome. Thank you for your attention.
Appropriate words to express my gratitude to our grand frère from University of Lomé in Benin, who we didn't know before. It was a great chance for us in the last year to meet him and talk to him, and very quickly he was eager not only to read this dissertation but to stay with us and provide us with guidance, instructions. Because of his many experiences in the field of American study that they promote in Benin, and also in Togo and in other French-speaking African countries, really made us feel at home And at the time, I wished myself to go and stay in Benin for some years to continue my career. And I was thinking about that in the future. Maybe that's going to be possible. So I want to thank him and also some of his colleagues at the Lomé who welcomed us very warmly and who made us feel at home. May God bless you for what you do. Mr. Chairman, I wish to say gratitude to yourself. There's no appropriate word to do that because we used to call you grand frère, and we say that because you deserve it. You are not one that we call grand frère, and after all, we go back and we smile in the corner. This comes from our hearts. From the very first day that we knew you as students, as doctoral students till today, that we seem to become colleagues. You always were there for us, and I wish to thank you. I wish also to thank Professor Agbo, who took the time and proved great many times it work to make it what it is today, and who provided us with quality arrangement with what we have today. And I want to thank him too. Mr. Chairman, allow me to say special thanks to Professor Agbo, Director of Pascal. His presence here is not just for random. He's the Director of West African Center for Climate Change that we have in the German Department of Education. He's here today not as a simple colleague or as a director of Pascal, but he's someone who always spent the time with us, gave us guidance, and provide us with advice in everything we do at the university here. And I wish to sincerely thank him from the bottom of my heart. And I know that his being here means also we're going to have good climate. He's a climate changer, and we have good climate for this defense today. Thank you, Dr. I wish also to express gratitude to Professor Kpade Codjo. I don't know exactly what to say about this man, but he means a lot to me, and by extension, it means a lot to the research that I'm going to talk about now, which is English Anglophone Studies research team. With him and Ebony, I really know what is meant by team. You know, we used to belong, and this is why we are here today, to other teams, and because of shifting of human conditions sometimes, things needed to change, and today we are in a different part of research, and I really know what is meant by team. We work together. We even worked together just a few minutes ago. So without them, I will never know what is really meant by team. And I wish that God bless them and give them some life, and bless the family so that we continue doing this. And bless also the students who will take the step in a few years, so that this spirit of team continues and help us build our nation and help us build our continent, and why not this world? Mr. Chairman, allow me to say a few words about the candidate, Mr. Kpade Codjo. Kpade Codjo is a student I have for several years. And I don't mean that he stopped being my student today. I know we become colleagues very soon. But I wish to say a few things about this man. He belongs to the new generation of students who believe in themselves, and also have some understanding of what is meant by research. This is how I quickly accepted to supervise his doctoral work. The topic that we chose, we could have summarized to one word, which is identity. Identity is something that all of us are concerned with. And as I used to tease him during our many contacts, we are all hybrids. Today is very difficult to claim that this is my origin, although some people try that. It always ends with failure. We all belong to several origins. No one has one unique origin. So trying to do research on hybrid origin is for me a big challenge, and also for the candidate Kpade. But I saw him quickly grow from a student that has just one idea in his mind to fill up pages and make a thesis. That this man is very, very meticulous. One thing I would like to praise in him is his humility to learn, and this humility comes from the fact that he reads a lot. Mr. Kpade reads a lot. The several pages of his literature review can be telling. I made him into contact with people who theorize already on the topic that he wants to embrace, to tell him that he's not the first one to venture on this field. There are great scholars on the field. He got into contact virtually with them. He managed himself to see what they said before and to find a role and to do his work. This is why I want to congratulate him, because he spent 1 whole year without writing the introduction of his thesis, but with reading many scholars in various fields that worked on the topic that he was working with. And today that's very saving. Today he made us read a very great citation that I personally appreciate. Mr. Kpade, apart from being a young researcher, has the qualities of a teacher, and a teacher is someone who has the capacity to transmit knowledge to others. He attended some of my classes. He helped me prepare some of my courses, and I know that if he has the opportunity to continue his life as a researcher, he made a good one. And he will be useful for his university, he will be useful for his country, and he will be useful for Africa, continent, and this world. Mr. Chairman, critical race theory is another challenge that we face while reading this work. Let me explain myself. When we talk about racism or racial issues, I was in the US University for my doctoral research when I learned that I was not authorized to talk about racism because there is no racism in the country I come from. Because many people in my country are apparently same color like me. I'm very black. And I met many light-colored people in this country, but we are all black. So my supervisor told me I never experienced racism, so I was not entitled to talk about it. And I was about to tell the same thing to my candidates, that Mr. Kpade, you never experienced racism, you can't talk about racism. But this candidate proved me wrong, as I myself proved wrong my supervisor in the US. Although we didn't directly live or experience racism, some of us experience other types of discrimination based on ethnic groups, on gender, on age. But still, this is not sufficient to talk about race. But part of our training made us into contact with many scholars, many books, many movies in the US, where 12% of the population is black. And many times we feel close to those people, and our identity shifts sometimes to feel more pain about the hardship of experiences they have, the continent that the grandfather contributed to building, and which enslave them sometimes. Mr. Kpade, being aware of those things, did a very great work of a calculator. I didn't see him challenge the great theorists of critical race theory, but he found his room to theorize about race as an outsider. When talking about identity, you agree with me that we take our identity by comparing ourselves to other people. And this is a challenge also for teachers of American studies from both sides of the Atlantic. Whether ones would think that, yeah, we have the stewardship about race theory, they also learn a lot from those who are not born in the US, but who have a say about racism. Mr. Chairman, I was very happy and appreciative of this candidate by the choice of the book that we use in this dissertation. It is the first introduction of some of us to what we call hybrid novels. Tell you to feel free for any remarks that you have in this work. That will help me, that will help the candidates know better where it's going, and also myself in dealing with other candidates who are waiting for this day. And I want to thank you because you are the ones to make this day possible, this day a celebration. And based on the various experiences that you have, I want to give you back the floor. And I wish to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, dear colleagues.
On this panel, before I could come to any other concern, let me greet the candidate. Mr. Kpade, how are you feeling this morning? To tell you exactly how you can better it, to make it a good research work reference. Before I could get deeply into my comment about this research paper, I do thank the Associate Professor Kpade, who has associated me to this research paper. I do thank him. It is the very first time, and I'm so happy to have been invited to contribute to this paper. Professor, thank you very much. But before you, I do refer to the authorities of the University of Lomé, who have accepted this to be associated to this research paper. I do thank them because they are, for the first time, they think I can contribute to something good. After this, I should thank my colleagues here, Professor Ebony, Professor Brigidu, and let me tell you, the artificial border set by the white man is just a symbol. Benin, Togo, we are the same. This frontier that doesn't exist in our mind is just something that intellectuals, as we are, we should go beyond and forget about it and see what we can do together to develop our career. I don't speak of country because normally there is no limit. After this, I'll come to Professor Amuzu. Professor, let me express my gratitude just to be together with you, to be sharing this panel with you. That's the first time. And it is a good pleasure. Unfortunately, we are obliged to stay where we are and to have a less clear view of our faces. Be sure that I'm always available for anything I can contribute. Thank you, Professor, for presiding this panel together with us. Thank you. I should be coming to my appreciations related to this research paper. There is a question I put every day, every time. Who is not handmade in America finally? It's a question. Because when we consider the history of America, yes, setting apart the Indians, all those people living in America, yes, were coming from somewhere else, Europe, Africa, etc. So finally, this phenomenon, known as hyphenate is common when we take the American people in general. Anyway, it depends and it varies according to the degree of half-natedness of each of them. Anyway, the debate is not at this level today. Our concern here is to appreciate the research paper submitted by Mr. Kpade. Mr. Kpade, do you know that there are so many Kpades in Benin? Yeah. How are you?
Yes, I
can hear you. I can hear you.
I know.
How are you going? Yes. Are you having it? Answer now. You don't know.
I didn't get the question.
Yes? Okay.
Of course, I'm isolated.
Anyway, the Colonel Guru has said nobody is without having his roots somewhere else. It's very difficult to find it. Okay, now I want to see some aspects related to the form of the document. But before this, I should congratulate Dr Kpade for this paper. Yeah, congratulations. It should not be easy, but you are courageous enough to go to work with such a topic. But after this, I should see the form of the document. Yeah. It's a document of 263 pages. But when you take the different parts of this document, the introduction, it covers 18 pages. Chapter 1, 56 pages. Chapter 2, 40 pages. Chapter 3, 61 pages. Chapter 4, 28. Chapter 5, 38. And conclusion, 8 pages. There's a problem of balance. I know it's not easy because somewhere it is difficult to imagine things just to fill up pages. However, you need to see some aspects when we have somewhere 61 pages, some other in some other chapters 28 pages. Try to balance somehow. It will help you just value more the quality of the document. When we get to from page 260 to so you tell me if this appendix is important. If yes, what is contribution to this paper? That is the cover pages of the novel use conduct this research paper. Okay, another concept. From page 16 to 17, I can see some citations, but with no references. What happens? I don't know. Can I continue? Yes, 16 to 17. 1617. I will need.
Of course.
Okay, thank you. Now, another concern, please. In the document, for instance, I cannot read clearly the methodology used. So, what is the methodology you have used to collect the data in this research paper? Can you follow?
Yeah.
Can you continue?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, another concern here, what about literature review in this research paper? Okay, some other concerns about this research paper. In the title of the novel, of the research paper, there is fluctuating identity in hybrid novels. But what I notice is that in the development, you have not tried to define what is the hybrid novel, for instance. These aspects will bring more clarity to the paper. And it is a question, what is it about? What are the characteristics? Are you with me? Okay. Now, you have answered the question in your presentation, but I want to insist upon it. Your campus is made of 4 novels: Occasion, New People, Born Confused, How the Dancing Girls Wrote the Accent. Now, can you explain why you have selected these titles? So, why these titles have been put together to make your purpose? So some other things. All the authors are female writers. And my question is there any coincidence? Yeah, that's my question. Or have you done this purposely? Or do you belong to the feminist trend? I don't know. It is up to you to tell us exactly how it happens, yes, to be what it is now. Can I continue? Okay, now I come to the concept of identity. Yeah, you are very courageous because this concept is very ambiguous, and I can say this: we live in an ever-changing social world, which constantly calls forth changes to our identities and actions. Advances in science, technology, and medicine, political upheaval, and economic development are just some examples of social change that can impact upon how we live our lives, how we view ourselves and each other, and how we communicate. Social change can result in the salience and visibility of particular social categories, changes in the assimilation, accommodation, and evaluation of these categories and new patterns of action. Similarly, individual ecological change, getting a new job, being diagnosed with a life-changing illness, growing old, can dramatically affect our sense of self, potentially causing us to rethink who we are. Our relationship with shifts with others and how we ought to have in particular contexts, or how we ought to behave in particular contexts. When social change and psychological change have in common is the power to affect radically our identities and actions. Or being intelligent necessarily gives someone an ethnic identity or the identity of an intellectual. This is a concern. Is it sufficient to have a British passport, to carry a British identity? I say no. You may say yes. What is your opinion about this? Now, after this, I have a set of 2 or 3 questions about identity, because this theme is central to the document. Take notes. Number 1, is identity viewed as a personal, relational, or collective phenomenon? I take it again. Is identity viewed as a personal, relational, or collective phenomenon? Can I continue? Okay. Second, is identity viewed as stable or as flat and constantly changing? Is identity viewed as stable, flat, or constantly changing? Number 3, is identity viewed as discovered? Now, the last part, or the last question. Are you following me, Mr. Kpade?
I'm with you, Professor.
Thank you. I'm very happy to hear this. Should identity be researched using quantitative or qualitative methods? Okay, Mr. Chairman of the panel, those are some concerns. I want the candidates to speak about in the frame of this defense, to make clearer some aspects developed in the documents. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to express my mind and say whatever I think in terms of this research paper. Once again, thanks a lot. I cannot hear the president of the panel. His microphone seems to be off.
Probably is frozen, and I think we will recover that very soon.
These observations will be marked into account in the final versions of the documents. Regarding to questions that you addressed to me, I will start by answering the one related to hybrid novels, why I chose this novel, this title. That's because I'm interested in the issue of identity. And that's why I've selected them to work on, to conduct a serious research on these novels in order to find a palatable results is what I've done. And you also put a question to me about the fact that all the writers are females. Am I a feminist or is it a coincidence? I'm not. I'm not a feminist. It's just a coincidence. Since these authors are addressing the issue of identity in their novels, that's why I've simply taken their novels to work on. So it's just a coincidence. I'm not a feminist. So this is what I can say about this question. And you said that you incorporate the definition of hybrid novels. Maybe when I was drafting the document, I didn't take it into account, but I will take it into account, as you said, but I put it in the presentation. And I will have this incorporated in the final version of the document. There's also another issue that you raise pertaining to the holding of a British passport. Having a British passport does not grant a British identity to an individual. But to answer this question, I will simply say that it depends on the one who holds the British passport and the interest that we want to gain. What do you want to do with the passport? So it depends on the individual who is in the possession of the passport. So one can decide to have the British passport and adopt the British values, British patterns, British way of behaving, in order to be considered as a full British. This is identity. And we will find it rare when we get to a place where someone holds a British passport and the way the person is behaving does not look like someone who is a British. People will be asking, are you really a British? So I think, in my opinion, it depends on the individual and what you want to do with such a passport or identity. And you address 4 questions to me. Is identity viewed as a personal, relational, or collective phenomenon? I will simply answer by saying that identity is personal, is relational, and is collective. At the same time that we think that we are different from others, we are also connected to others. So which means that in society, our relationship, we are alone, we are single, we have our own identity. Is what I addressed in the 2nd chapter. We have our own identity, but at the same time, we are connected to others. So which means that it is also, when we are connected to others, it's because we have a relationship with others. Otherness is not far from us. We can define ourselves comparing us to these people. So I can answer by saying that identity is personal, relational, and collective. And the second one has to do with is identity viewed as stable, as flat, and constantly changing. It depends on the individuals. Identity can be stable for an individual, not changing, but for another one it can be stable, or it can be flat, and for another one it can be constantly changing. But the fact that we grow, we continue growing every day, every year, leads us to say that identity is constantly changing. because we don't stick to only one. In the identity, we have different membership, different belongings. So every time that we continue growing, we have additional identitarian membership that are added to our identity, which means that we continue growing and changing and improving our identity. The third one has to do with is identity viewed as a discovered, personally constructed, or socially constructed. For an individual, this one also depends on the individual. For someone, a part of the identity can be discovered. It can be when the person meets someone else at a place. They say, you belong to this group, or you belong to this group, but you don't know, or you didn't know that you belong to that group. And you discover one fine day that you belong to a membership that you were not aware of. And it is personally constructed, because we can choose the belongings or the membership that we want to get in. If we don't like maybe a membership in society, we can decide to step back, not step in. Nobody is forced to get into any membership and to increase our identity that way. It's also socially constructed, because we live in a society. We cannot live in a society without being constructing our identity with this society. We have members with whom we are in a society, so we socially construct our identity. So we have different, you can say identity is discovered for some people, not all. It is socially constructed and it is personally constructed. And the last one, you say, should identity be researched using quantitative or qualitative methods? This is a tricky question. This is very tricky. I can say, yes, it is very tricky. I can say we can use quantitative and qualitative methods to search identity. If I can answer in one sentence, the way I've understood the question, this is how we can research identity. Qualitative and quantitative methods can be used simultaneously. And also you mentioned a literature review, how I've conducted literature review. So Professor, I think I've answered all your questions, and I'm still open to your observations and remarks. Thank you.
A question. Yeah, about the methodology used, but not answered this. And there is no tricky question. Yeah, the problem is that the concept of identity is so complex that before you could access it, you need to use both approaches, quantitative and quantitative at the same time. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for you to cover it. Yeah. Okay. So, what about methodology?
Thank you, Professor. Talking about methodology, as I said, I use the the theory, critical the theory. And now I've been to collect data related to the issue in order to better analyze this issue. I have selected data that can be related, or that are related to or connected to this issue of identity and hyphenatedness. And it's what I've done. I haven't selected all the issues that are not connected or related to this issue of identity and hyphenatedness, but I've collected data based on the issue that I've seen, I've noticed in the corpus, in 4 novels that I've considered. It's what I've done. So thank you, Professor. That's what I can say. I can't win the session.
You have worked on such a topic. That's what I mean. It is important for you to mention those who worked before you and say, okay, these people, this and that, they have worked on this and that aspect, and I myself, my focus is about such and such other aspects. Okay, Mr. Chairman,
Boss.
Yeah, welcome now. Some minutes ago, we couldn't reach you.
That's the problem we are raising about technology.
Yes. Okay. I think
now,
I'm done.
He has been trying to react to your preoccupations. Are you satisfied, Prof?
Yes, somehow. No problem. We can continue.
Okay. Thank you, and thanks to the candidates also for what he has been saying.
No problem.
I will come back later on to some of the things that I have been saying. But now, Prof. Agbo, you can have the floor for your comments on the dissertation of Kpade. Thank you, Prof.
I would like to proceed as you all have proceeded by thanking you on the high table and some major figures that have participated in my personality building. Yeah, in fact, we are in a topic of identity here. So I would say myself here has an identity, and that identity is being constructed, or it has been constructed so far many years ago, and I am still being the one who is sitting by your side to learn, to appreciate your deeds, and continue to be what I can be for my proper betterment. First of all, I would like to say thank you to Professor Nubuko, the one on whom I would rely in everything. He's not here at all, but I know his spirit is guiding me and pushing me wherever I stand. And this great man, whom I have known for many years, is the one that made me and has allowed me to sit here. I can't say anything without mentioning his name in your midst. I know you know him a lot, but just an excuse to mention his name here. So, thank you, Professor Amuzu, Mr. Chairman. It is an honor. You are a great, great brother for me. I can't tell you how you impacted my personality. It is here. I can't tell you how it impacted my personality just because you were there when I met with Professor Nudupo and all your pieces of advice for my construction helped me a lot to move up and sit by your side today. It is an honor for me, and I will never forget about it. So I'm thanking in turn my colleague Carl. I have no word for you, Carl. The only thing I have for you is thank you. You are someone who deserves a lot of things in terms of qualifications, but I will not go for these words just because I will consume your time for nothing. So just keep the single word, which is thank you. I'm thanking Professor Kobwe from Benin. You said it earlier on that Togo and Benin are both, we should mix them together and make one country. Yes, of course, that is true. And I will call you brother, I will call you elder brother, just because you showed it the other time that when we came to you in November 2023, you proved it. And I'm not wrong to say you are more than a brother. You belong to my family now. So thank you very much for allowing me to sit here by your side as well. It is a great honor. I will thank dear colleague and Professor Begedou also, because we belong to the same team and we have been working as a team, and he is also from my family as well. Just receive my thank you. And the director of Waskar also in our midst here is someone I should not forget, because he is always by our side as not an elder brother, but he always comes down to our level, which I always doubt and can't believe. It is so appreciated. It touches my heart deeply, and I have to express that today to you. Thank you very much. I would like to thank the audience here for your presence, for being here, because you are proving and showing how dear your friend, your son, your brother, your comrade, and all, Kpadé Codjo is for you. He is one of the kind that you have come to support. Then please receive my thanks, which I deeply express now to you. Kpadé Codjo, as a candidate who is defending his doctoral dissertation today, the internal examiner. I have been working with you on this topic for some time now, and we quite a bit know about it. And what I would say would not be in the line of diminishing the quality of what you have already produced, because I'm in there. You have made an achievement today. You are crossing a bridge. Remember that. This is a bridge which many people would like to cross, but it is always kind of hard for them to do so. Why is it so hard? Because writing a dissertation is not an easy task. I remember one professor saying, when you sit to write a dissertation, it means you are going to lose something in terms of your personality. A value maybe, or a quality, or a friendship or a relation that you can't tell how it happened that so you lose it. Yes, it is true, it is hard to write a dissertation. You close yourself in your room for days and days, for months, and even for years, which is tough doing. So it is the opportunity for me to congratulate you and appreciate what you have done so far. And where you are sitting today, you should enjoy and rejoice. For now, at least that you are sitting here. But wait until the defense is completed. I know Professor Kpade has already mentioned many of the concerns that I would love to raise here. But what I would say is, would be very short in terms of content. But remember that you would take note of what I will be saying for you to try to think about it in the process of improving the critical thinking of, that activity which is the critical thinking. Mr. Chairman, let me start to open the dissertation itself. I will not take much time to do it, but I think it is worth doing it because I will then help the candidate improve the document to some extent. Kodjo, are you there? Fine. Professor Kpade already said that your document is unbalanced. Take note of that. Because the chapters do not equal one another. There are ones which are very long and others which are too short. Try to make them almost equal, not totally equal, but the places or the chapters in which you have missed ideas, some of the ideas, try to expand those ideas and make the chapters or bring some kind of balance in between the chapters. That's the first point. You just see this kind of aspect in the table of content. Good. So, on a general basis, the document is well written because the English flows. As someone who read a lot to some extent, as Professor Abano said it earlier on, the reading flows. When you read the paragraph, you can get the meaning of what he says. That's fantastic. I appreciate this aspect in the paper. I also appreciate the fact that the paragraphs are clear enough, the spacing is fine, and also the sentences are not that complex, because we know when you use complex sentences, you would be submitted to the risk of losing the key idea in every paragraph, which might cause which might jeopardize the quality of the paper. So, in all cases, the paper is well written, it is readable, the English is fine, and also the citations are well enough. But, when I put but, I just mean there are things which are to consider shortcomings. By the way, we don't say to consider us. You said it in your presentation, and I noted here that you don't use consider us. Consider something to be. You chose to leave to shorten the titles of the paper. You chose to shorten the title of the paper, even to put them in acronyms. Right? But I think these titles are not that long to shorten them all. Maybe the last one, the title of the novel. Maybe the last one can be shortened, but the rest of the novels, you can keep them because they are too short enough to be shortened. In some places, your referenciation lack the year and the places of publication. The document is to show that, but I don't want to flip the papers one by one to tell you about this point, but I will talk about it for you to be able to take it into account when you get my final document. Then, where there are year or places of publication that you should complete or fill in, try to do so when you get the document. Fine. As another point or another aspect of the form I'm talking about, why do you consider to put the cover pages of the novels that you study or that are under study in your document? I mean, I think it's superfluous. You don't need that, to my understanding. Like you put this cover page, which I'm showing here, in the paper. It's as if you are trying to beauty the paper. You have the right to beauty the paper, but it is to be beautied in terms of the style, in terms of the syntax, in terms of the vocabulary, and so on. You don't have to put this one here, all right? I think you can remove it. My elder brother, Professor Kpade, mentioned the index. Is it that useful? I can't tell you, but you have to look at it. Good. I'm getting in the document itself to allow you to see some of the points for which I don't really agree. Move to page 14. Are you there? On page 14, you say somewhere, in the first line, according to this article, assimilation is quite, etc. Which article are you mentioning over there? There's no title of any article that I see. Even in the lines above, nothing is there. When you say in this article, you should give the title of the article proper. You have not done so. Okay? Good. There is a citation which comes on the following page, page 15. Do you see that citation? The increasing population of mixed race, etc. It is long. It is composed of many figures and many things of many years and many references inside the reference. Which one is really the reference? Final one. I could not see that. So referenciation is a big problem. It is challenging in this paper. And I asked the question, what is the main source here? clarify this. Have you seen that? Even though I said the paper is well written, I think you have a difficulty or a challenge in forming the topic sentences of your paragraphs. How do you start a paragraph? There are paragraphs wherein you start without a topic sentence. And there are paragraphs you just start without making a link between the previous one and the one you are starting. I have cases here that you will have to see too. Good. The differentiation you mentioned, including encyclopedia. Instead of using encyclopedia, I'm on page 20. Why don't you use articles that criticize the issue of identity in its hyphenated form? Why encyclopedia? You can go beyond. You are not at the level of a candidate or a student who will be going with encyclopedia that easily. There are critical ideas in scientific works that you can find more relevant than the encyclopedia. So on page 20, for example, this reference that you put there, the insertion that you put there has to be revisited. And in the long run of the paper as well. There is a sentence which I read here and I almost smiled. It is on page 22, the last paragraph. Vous avez choisi 4 œuvres de 3 auteurs avec l'intention claire d'analyser les difficultés vécues par les personnages féminins dans ces œuvres. Mais vous êtes allé trop vite aux conclusions que tous, autant jeunes hommes, j'allais dire, et jeunes femmes, souffrent des problèmes de hyphenatedness dans le contexte de leur construction identitaire. Et vous ne vous êtes pas appesantis sur le cas des jeunes hommes, qui pourtant vivent les mêmes difficultés. You have not stressed the case of young boys, because I know in the corpus there are boys who intervened, who also acted, who also participated in the event. In Caucasia, in all the novels as well. Vous avez évoqué la question du passé à la page 32. And I was expecting you to deeply explore this idea of passing, which you did not do. Because the concept of passing is one of my favorites. It is even part of my dissertation, even the main idea of the dissertation I wrote. Pour cette question, vous avez manqué de développer de façon approfondie et vous vous êtes tout simplement attaché à la notion de race, color line. Vous ne vous êtes pas plutôt attaché à cette notion de race et de color line et de l'ascension sociale. Because when I mention these ideas, in the construction of identity, people are to move forward. All the people involved in constructing or building themselves, they are willing to move forward. But how do they move forward if they are biracial or they have 2 nationalities, etc.? in the passing idea as well. People are willing to move forward. This point was not really developed in your paper, which I think could be an interesting aspect of the paper. When I mentioned color line, you know the difficulties the black people used to have, and they even still have them today in the United States of America. There is a line between the races, mostly the black race and the white race, which seems to be removed today, but it is not. You can explore these ideas. Le cadre théorique que vous avez mis en place, M. Kpade, qui est la critical race theory, met l'accent sur la question de race, de racisme, devrait mettre l'accent sur les éléments comme la race, le racisme et le pouvoir, en sachant que cette question implique de manière plus accentuée la race noire. The black race. You didn't remove these aspects where we could see that the black race, because I like this problem. Thank you, sir. All right? So try to get these ideas or invite these ideas in your paper. That will be helpful enough. I will not stay or keep the floor for long. To go toward the end of my intervention, I would like to ask you a few questions. You have clearly defined and explored the idea of family identity and collective identity in the paper. How different are these? Family identity and collective identity. How different are these ideas? On page 199, you mentioned or you wrote that it is worth to live authentically. How do we live authentically if we are hyphenated? How live authentically if one is hyphenated? These are the few questions, the only two questions that I have for you. And I will recommend you take the paper because there are things that I continued to underline which you can revisit and try to better the paper for its well-reading appreciation. Mr. Chairman, I think I would stop here after having offered the opportunity to the candidate to be able to see what my intent is about the paper. Definitely, I believe it is a good paper. It's worth reading, and the topic is to be appreciated, even though there are still a lot of shortcomings that he can try to look or see to in order to improve its quality. Once again, it has been an honor to sit by your side and appreciate this paper. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the floor you have given.
Thank you. The first one is family identity and collective identity. How are they different? They say family identity has to do with what we share in common with one's family, with our own family. And it has to do with the family link, the family bond that we have with one's members of the family, our relatives, our parents, and all that. Now, when we come to the collective identity, it has to do with the different groups in which we belong. One can belong to a religious group. In that religious group, we have different people who are not part of our family. So that one is a collective identity that we share with other people in a religious part. We can have professional identity, and that one also is not connected to our family. It's also one part of our collective identity. So this is how the difference that I can raise between the two concepts, the two elements. Now, when we come to a sentence that I have I said in the dissertation, the document, how to live authentically if we are hyphenated. Living authentically means what? To live up to our potential. To live the way we can live. Not to try to mimic anyone, not to try to imitate anyone. When you want to get into a place, when you have different identitarian membership, we get to a place we have to show the belonging or the corresponding values that we can show off in that particular place in order to fit in that place. We cannot be a religious person and get to a professional place and start talking about professional issues that people over there are not concerned with. So when we get there, it's what I talk about live authentically. When we get to the place, we need to show off who we are, not to imitate or mimic anyone. Try to imitate, we don't live up to our potential. That's why I put that question in the document. So it's the living authentically is what it means to me. Thank you, Professor.
I'm going to say one or two things. I don't even want. Kpade, are you getting me?
I'm getting you, Professor.
I don't even want reactions. I don't want answers from you. But if you feel it necessary to react, it's okay. You see, Mr. Kpade, I have the impression when I get this document. The very first impression I have, are you with me? The very first impression I have is as if you are not working on literature. Okay, fine. I think it's as if you are not working on literature. Remember, you have, if you take your title, you decided to work on novels, and if you take the table of contents, all the items, you look at them, there is no indication not anywhere, nowhere in the content. You see that you're working on this or that novel. Even though in your development things are clearly visible. But why is it that the table of contents we have no indication that you are working or not. From chapter 1, chapter 2, and if you see, take chapter 1, 1, 2, and all of them, I don't know, it is not clearly indicated that you are working on this or that. See, and even in your presentation, I have the feeling that you do not disconnect, or not disconnect, but you do not clearly tell us where where we put a limit between fiction and reality. Because you are talking of American reality, what are you saying? Are you telling us that the novel that you are studying are purely talking of, I like it that if you read the novels, you have to see what the reality is in America. No, of course, the reality is as the raw material that you use, to articulate what you have our preparations in literature. But the fact in literature, the reality, that is my concern, it's my problem. Right? Because listening to your development is as if the things in the novel that you read are the realities in America. The other thing that I saw or I noticed in your development, somewhere when you were presenting the conclusion, talking of the result, you said somewhere that identity is what one decides to be. It's identity is what one decides to be. And very quickly, answering some preoccupations of Professor Owe, you said that in fact identity you'll be, and from even the answers that you'll be giving to Prof. Ebolina, as if you are contradicting yourself. Because remember, we said it in the conclusion that identity is what you decide to be. Even though we all know that identity is always in progress. Always in progress. And what you decide to be does not exist. Because you cannot tell me that you know yourself, what you are. Now when you are talking, you cannot tell me that you know yourself. You don't know yourself. You don't know who you are. And you cannot know what you do. But it is not sure that you can tell me for sure precisely what you want to become or what you want to be. I tell you, I'm not waiting for any answer because you decided to work on a very complex mission, which is identity. You see, the other aspect of my education, you've been putting hybridity into your topic, because you consider since the authors of these novels have hybrid identities from two identities, origins, necessarily the thing that they are saying, are related to their nationalities and their origins. My question, I don't want you to answer this, because I know why I'm asking this. My question is, are you trying to understand the novels in the light of who or what the authors are? Which is a problem to me. If it is so, my other question is, I don't know if you know that book by Roland Barthes, The Death of the Author.
I don't believe this is the last time we meet to do these things with your words. We keep them in mind and heart and continue academia. Thank you, Professor.
For giving me the floor. Thank you all the members of the Board of Examiners. I thank everybody here. This has not been a very easy journey. It has been very tough, but I've made my my utmost to conduct such a research. And I will take all your preoccupations, your observations, and remarks into account in order to improve the quality of the document. And when I finish, it will be an acceptable document. Thank you, Professor.
C'est bon, vous pouvez proceed.
D'accord, donc je disais que je ne vais pas le texte sur notre main. Moi, je vais quand même proclamer. Si l'assistance est là, le Seigneur est là. Très bien, monsieur Kpadé Codjo.
S'il vous plaît, monsieur le Président.
Oui.
J'aurais souhaité, après votre résultat, si Prof a le test sous la main, qu'il puisse intégrer votre résultat et lire intégralement ce qu'il faut.
Le candidat, tu es là?
Oui, professeur, I'm here.
Très bien. Vous avez soumis au jury qui est devant vous une thèse intitulée Fluctuating Identity in Our. Vous me suivez?
Je vous suis, professeur.
Il y a a reading of dans les Soutenance, Caucasia, New People, Enkaluga, the Sai, Ides, Born Confused, and Georgia Alvarez, how the Gadia girls lost their accents. Je suis arrivé quand même. Le jury a procédé à une évaluation de ce travail et a vu qu'il y a quand même de petits problèmes ça et là, mais a quand même réussi. Les collègues de moi-même unanimement l'avons quand même identifié dans ce travail de points très forts, vu la qualité du travail qui a été fourni. Malgré quelques petits problèmes ça et là, nous avons constaté que le travail est consistant, bien fourni, bien élaboré, avec une documentation bien garnie, une bibliographie très abondante. Donc, au vu de tout cela, au vu des qualités du document que nous avons observé, le jury unanimement a décidé de t'élever au grade de docteur S. Lettres avec une mention très honorable. Une fois encore, moi je voudrais féliciter et remercier le professeur Koué, le professeur Lomé, et puis le directeur de la thèse, le candidat et toute l'assistance, en vous disant au revoir.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Je crois que le moment viendra où on pourrait se retrouver côte à côte et partager beaucoup de choses en termes de connaissances. Merci beaucoup.
Ce sera un plaisir.
Merci beaucoup, professeur.
Merci de plaisir. Bonne journée à vous et bonne fête là-bas. Merci de toi, Lomé.
Dem sok po yamera, mpo enu gede, Jesse agbe akaba, mpankan agbe akaba, mse nou sou gogon me kaba, parce que di la nye wojo kaba, yeah. Ame non ame di yo nye na somi, nyawe non mti nye ye mnye somi, nye muni nyabe po me tova mi do masi, atako korabine tu sinami, Nyawe bébé, Léon Cal, Johannes Makouvia, Doris Genrouillant.